free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Within our lifetime.
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 Make some noise for justice and for liberation, everybody. We are here to weave the fabric of truth. Our movement relies on each and every one of us. We cannot center violence from the oppressor, violence from anti-Semitism, violence from state-sanctioned forces, from the NYPD to the IDF. We cannot center violence in our movements. And that means do not ask the oppressed about their tactics fighting for liberation, period. Because if the people of so-called Israel wanted to live in harmony with Palestinians on their land, they would have done so. They would not have asked the U.S. for more weapons to kill Palestinians, to push them out of their homes. They would not have asked the world to look the other way while they commit acts of genocide.
Right.
This calls on every one of us, for shame, Israel, for shame! This calls on every one of us to extend our hearts, our empathy. It was during the movement for civil rights in the United States that the Jewish community stood with the black community.
That's right.
It was during the movement for Palestinians in the early 80s that the black community, the Black Panthers, stood in solidarity with Palestinians. We are continuing to weave the fabric of truth in our movements. We will not let it be co-opted by state-sanctioned violence. By those who do not have our best interests at mind and at heart.
Say our name!
Say our names in unison. The names of all the martyrs. The names of all the children. Innocent victims, families. The names of all the teenagers that had hopes and dreams to grow into adults and to fight for a better future. It calls on every one of us to mourn those lives lost. Do not let it drive you to despair. Let this radicalize you. Let this radicalize you rather than drive you to despair. Because none of these children deserve to die.
Right.
We have to open our hearts. We have to bear witness to these crimes. We were not born to be here and close our eyes to this violence.
That's it.
We have to witness this violence beyond our comprehension and call it out.
That's right.
Call it out.
Call it out.
Every step of the way, call it out.
That's right.
Because it is not only in Palestine that they are dropping bombs. They are dropping bombs in Lebanon, in Syria.
Right.
This is a fight against people who want to live in harmony with the land and people that want to extract it, people that want to treat others as a sacrifice zone, as resources expendable to be sacrificed. We cannot allow this within our lifetimes. The same tactics that the Israeli regime is using have been used in South Africa and even by this country, the so-called United States, against the Native Americans here and Native communities here. We have to learn from the mistakes of history so that they will not repeat themselves. That is why we are here today. No more Palestinians deserve to die. Period. We have to defend their land rights, their sovereignty. We have to stand in truth and justice. And we have to remember why we are here. Because love calls us to be here. Love is not an empty piece that averts its eyes to violence. Love stands in solidarity and says, we will take on this no matter what. We will stand together and fight against this. Because that is not the world we deserve. That violence is not the world we deserve. This is the world we deserve. Standing in solidarity, standing in each other's presence, fighting for each other's collective future. This is the world we deserve. Thank you to our Jewish comrades, to our Palestinian year. From every river to every sea, we are fighting so all oppressed peoples will be free. Thank you, everybody. I'm Nigerian American. I'm also fighting against the legacy of the colonial UK regime in Africa, because that affects us all. We have to decolonize our minds to be here and to be present here. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here.
Thank you, give it up! When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Gaza is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Palestine is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Gaza is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to highlight that we are standing on top of this so-called military recruitment station. We know that the U.S. military preys on young black and brown students in the South Bronx. What do we have to say to that? Shame on the U.S. military for using predatory tactics to try to recruit oppressed and poor brown and black and brown students in the South Bronx. The U.S. government will never give us universal health care and free college as long as the U.S. military exists.
As long as they give money to Israel.
As long as they give money to Israel. So our work is not done until the U.S. military is abolished entirely. We want to defund it, but down to $0. We also want to abolish the police, and we also want to abolish NATO. All right.
Next, we're going to hear from a long time Puerto Rican activist and leader who worked for the MTA for decades, led tens of thousands of transit workers fighting for their rights and for union rights for all of us. It's my friend and comrade, Jaime Veve.
And this is also speaking to the shame of the AFL-CIO, the labor union of the workers of this country, in their silence, in the midst of atrocious carnage against workers and peasants in Palestine. And except for the UE, United Electrical Workers, and a couple of other unions who have spoken out, the movement of labor follows the dictates of the U.S. State Department. How many of you know that the AFL-CIO, just to show you another aspect, since 1948 holds the sum of close to $5 billion in Israeli bonds. Israeli bonds as part of the establishment of Israel and the colonial military garrison. And do you think the workers ever had a chance to vote on this issue? No! They don't even know about it. Except for those of us who joined the labor movement after the war in Vietnam. This army recruiting station was the site of numerous anti-war protests and takeover back in the early 60s and 70s. I was part of that. I forgot about this place, except when we started walking up and images came up. And I bring this up because I just want to make a couple of points. We are of the generation of the Vietnam War. We lived the horrendous destruction and genocidal bombings and killings and U.S. war policy in Vietnam. A policy that the U.S. has pursued not only in Vietnam, but in other parts of the world, including Palestine. So when we are lectured by the mass media about our morality and our lack of sympathy and our lack of understanding of the complexity of what's happening in Palestine, we call bullshit. The U.S. has no moral right to speak about morality and justice and peace and non-violence. Talk to the Vietnamese. Talk to the Panamanians. Talk to the Grenadians. Talk to South Africa. And the Afghanis and Iraq, that's right. The more recent U.S. genocidal wars where more than 10 million Arab people have died at the hands of the U.S. since 2001. This is important to recognize the role of the U.S. because right now there is a Marine general in Israel advising the Israelis on how to conduct inner city war. Urban guerrilla war. There are lessons that they learned in Vietnam. And that they learned from the French who were in Vietnam before. And now they are transmitting it in preparation for the onslaught, the further onslaught of Palestine and Gaza. We should not, those of us of the progressive, the left, accept the narrative that we are being bombarded with, the tsunami of mass media manipulation and distortion of what the fundamental issue is in Palestine. Remember what Malcolm said, Malcolm X. The media will have you hating your friends and loving your enemies. Let's remember that because that's what we're going to have to deal with. And many people within the liberal spectrum and within even sectors of the left have begun to capitulate and blame the victim and blame Hamas as though that is the issue. No, let's not forget the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is that colonialism has brutalized, tortured, and killed the Palestinians for decades. And thereby the Palestinians have responded as anyone would respond. And whether you agree or you disagree with the actual methods, that is not the issue. The issue is settler colonialism must end. If you want justice, if you really want peace, and you want us no more blood to be spilled by either Arabs or Jews, then we must demand the end of colonialism, the destruction of Zionism as a political ideological framework. No peace of us. Now, in terms of the media, and people have referred to it. We are being bombarded with so many distortions. Just like during the Afghanistan or before that, the Iraqi war, how the Iraqis went into Kuwait and killed babies in their cribs and turned out to be total lies. And whether or not there were actual abuses and atrocities conducted, whether or not, that is not the issue. And we get bombarded with this by the mass media without any proof or actuality. And we know, as experienced older generation, we look at things maybe a little different than when we were younger, maybe a little more critical, maybe more historical, but the fundamental questions have to remain. You're either for settler colonialism, you're either for imperialism, you're either for injustice, you're either for violence, or you are not. No ifs or buts. Now, I want to refer you to the fact that 53 years ago, and I raise this because They're not telling us everything. They're not telling us the truth of what happened that day on October 7th. They're not telling us about the panic of the Israeli army and the fact that they just went ballistic at the audacity of the imprisoners, the audacity of the prisoners to break out of jail. And they went crazy. And I don't have any doubt that a lot of the victims who were killed, Israeli victims, were killed at the hands of the Israeli army. I have no doubt. Why do I say that? Because of the way the war was conducted and the way the Israelis view the Palestinians and the oppressed as not worth even any consideration. And also the Israelis have a policy called the Dalan theory. They will kill everyone at once and let no Palestinian escape. That's their policy. And we believe it was conducted there. Now, I'm going to end with one little historical reference which many of you may not know about. Palestinians escaped out of a prison. Prison which gave them no hope, no possibilities of living a life that we would consider normal. They escaped the prison, the open air prison. Well, in 1971, there is a prison upstate called Attica. Attica prison was horrendous prison situation upstate. In 1971, the prisoners took over the prison and held some guards captive, the very ones who abused them every day. What was the response of the state of New York and its governor at that time to send in the troops who unmercifully killed not only most of the guards who were being held, but also the prisoners, and then blame the prisoners for days on end that they were the ones that had killed the guards, and it turned out to be an absolute lie. So please, keep that critical lens to the public. And the other thing is, obviously we don't have the same capacity as the mass media and the mass corporate world. But this is where we have our strength. It is the mass of the people, once they realize the conditions, are able to reverse the historical trend, just like we did during the age of Vietnam, and we will do it again when it comes to Palestine. Palestine won't be free.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
I want to bring up one of the representatives of Jewish Voice for Peace, who really upset a lot of people in Congress last week. David Holloway, Jewish Voice for Peace.
I promise I'll be brief. As was said, I'm a member of Jewish Voice for Peace, the largest anti-Zionist Jewish organization in the country. And as was said last week, 10,000 people, Jews, anti-Zionists, and their allies, descended on Washington, D.C. and took over the Capitol. And stood bravely as they were arrested, 300 strong arrested and taken to jail. But really, I only have two words for you today. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now.
That's the first and the most important thing. We have to stop the killing.
Yes.
There are children that are alive today that'll be dead tomorrow because of the onslaught of the Israelis. We have to stop the bombing. We need to provide humanitarian aid immediately. Not 20 trucks for 2 million people.
Come on.
We need humanitarian aid that includes food, water, fuel, and medical supplies.
Yes, yes.
That is our imperative. That is our first imperative, is to protect and save the people of Gaza from the genocide that's currently taking place. We can talk about a lot of things other than that. But that is our priority. Save the people of Gaza. Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
So we're here to talk about Congressman Ritchie Torres. And we call on him to sign the letter asking for a ceasefire. What Ritchie Torres doesn't understand is that every life is precious. Every life is equal. I don't care if it's an American life, a Ukrainian life, an Israeli life, or a Palestinian life. Life is precious. And Ritchie Torres is ignoring that. And he's not alone. There are 370 or more members of Congress that are doing the same thing. They refuse to call for a ceasefire. So why? Why do these politicians do that? Across the country, people know that this is genocide. People understand that what Israel is doing is ethnic cleansing. They understand that what Israel is doing is against the international law. Why do they do it? Well, number one, political expediency. Because they know that they are getting their money to get reelected because they stand with the warmongers and they stand with Israel. But it also should be said that they are also racist because they do not consider Palestinian lives to be the same as anybody else's lives. Ritchie Torres and the others are cowardly. Their behavior is unacceptable. And we will stand up and fight to make sure that Ritchie Torres is gone from the Congress next year.
Vote him out! 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 Vote him out!
As anti-Zionists, we reject the Zionist project, whose stated purpose for over 100 years is to expel Palestinians from their land by any means necessary or any means possible without regard for international law. Their purpose, the Zionist purpose, is to create an ethno-state in the land of Palestine that excludes anybody that's not Jewish.
Shame!
We reject that Palestine is a land with no people for a people with no land.
That's a lie.
We reject that Palestinians and Jews cannot live together in peace. We demand an end to settler violence in the West Bank and Jerusalem. We demand an end to apartheid and occupation. We say Judaism yes, Zionism no. So Congressman Torres, sign the letter demanding a ceasefire, or we will send you back to private life on your ass. Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now!
Bless you all.
I just had a beautiful chant based off what you just said. Judaism, yes.
Judaism, yes.
Zionism, no.
Zionism, no.
The apartheid regime has got to go. Judaism, yes.
Judaism, yes.
Zionism, no.
Zionism, no.
The apartheid regime has got to go. One time, Judaism, yes.
Judaism, yes.
Zionism, no.
Zionism, no.